I ended things with my ex a year ago and have been dating my boyfriend for 6 months. My ex, during this time, has refused to move on and basically has repeatedly sent me flirty texts until I blocked him, as well as hitting on me in person, blatantly in front of my boyfriend too. I've told him multiple times that I am not interested and that I love my new boyfriend, but he has persisted. This has led to my boyfriend wanting to fight him for disrespecting you and I in our relationship. I always told him that this wasn't a good idea because violence isn't the answer, but the real reason is half that and also half because I know my ex would beat him in a fight. My ex trains in the gym a lot and also does multiple martial arts, whereas my boyfriend isn't really into fitness and is very skinny. He finally told me last week that he is going to fight my ex at a party they'll both be at that Saturday. I begged him not to, and told him bluntly that he will lose and make himself look bad. He responded saying that he's a lot bigger than my ex so he'll be fine. I repeatedly warned him, but he brushed it off. Lo and behold, exactly what I said happened, and he ended up losing, although he wasn't hurt too badly aside from his ego. He came to me upset and expected sympathy, but I just felt irritated and said that I had told him exactly that this would happen, and he chose not to listen. He's angry at me for being unsupportive, but I feel like I tried to warn him. The following story. My boyfriend Jeff and I broke up over a year ago. Jeff had lied to me about several things and we both had serious problems in general. I was passive-aggressive, he had anger problems, we fought constantly. He lied to me about being a virgin, and lied the entire time we were together. I'm not a stickler for virginity, but the thought of being lied to the entire time broke the camel's back. I had wanted to break up anyway, I hated my life. He kept me away from my friends and family, he was extremely needy. But he's come a long way since then. We've been back together for 7 months now and we've both improved greatly. It's almost miraculous how much he's changed. I love our life now. His ex was abusive to Jeff, cheated on him, hit him, one time he tied him up and tortured him till he cried. I'm almost certain that he also raped him several times. And while we were broken up, I couldn't stop thinking about them having sex and him getting raped. Something about it brought all this rage up to the surface. And a few months into the time we were apart, no contact, who did I come across but Liam? His ex. I had just visited my dad, I went to a bar to get a cheap bite and I saw him. I knew it was in his city but I was dumbfounded, Liam never knew I existed, never knew who I was. I watched him intently the whole time, I never took a sip of alcohol, just Sprite. He didn't really get drunk either. I was full of this perverse joy I couldn't describe. It was like I was thriving on my hatred of him. He was out behind the bar smoking a cigarette later and I approached him. I said hi, he was a little standoffish but he said hey. I said, "You're pretty handsome." He smiled and said, "You too." Top or bottom? He said he was both. Then he said, "We gonna play 20 questions or do you wanna do something tonight?" I can host. I told him I had one final question. I asked him if he felt like a big man when he hit a 5 feet 3 inches Filipino guy. He said WTF and I reiterated, "Jeff. When you beat him, or tied him up, slapped him around, pinned him to the wall. Did you feel big and tough?" When I mentioned Jeff's name his eyes got big. He told me to fuck off. I said, "I thought we were going to fuck on." He said he wouldn't tell me again. I said he wouldn't have to. I moved my arm like I was going to punch him, he put his arm up and we just kind of moved our arms around, I would use my forearm to move his away from me. He was like, "WTF are you doing?" I told him I was enjoying myself. I put my hands near his face, when he raised his hands to protect himself I moved to the side and grabbed his wrist, he pulled back and I punched his throat. It didn't connect very well but he was coughing and went to punch me, I could see it from his shoulder movements. I stepped to the side and grabbed his punching arm to pull me back to where I was, and I pushed and hit his head against the brick. I don't know what came over me. I've never been in many fights and I'm not jacked or anything. The worst part is how delighted I was. It's hard for me to think of a time where I've enjoyed myself more. I kicked him in the stomach while he was holding his head in pain. He tried to straight up tackle me or something, but I moved to the side and tripped him, and while he stumbled for a second I suckered a punch to his side, aimed for his kidney. He screamed when I did that and I laughed. He came back around and tried to grab me. I stepped and moved myself kind of past him, and then I drove my elbow right into his other side. He cried out when I did that louder, and it made me smile ear to ear. He was basically done after that. He was clearly hurting really bad and catching his breath. I gave him my hardest bitch slap to the cheek, my palm connected pretty gloriously. I grabbed his face and drove his head into the brick. He tried to bite my hand. I jabbed him in the stomach and kicked him again as hard as I could in the stomach. He started heaving. I pretty much yelled in like a maniacal voice, "Are you wishing I was Jeff now? Someone you can dominate?" I kicked and beat the fuck out of him. He was bleeding and vomiting. I kept grabbing him and standing him up so I could keep beating him. I am haunted by what I did, quite frankly. I had no idea I was capable of leveling harm like that at a person. I am so disturbed by how much I enjoyed it. I laughed like an insane person as he cried for me to stop. I seriously had the time of my life. I don't know where that kind of sadism comes from. I'm not like that deep down. Or at least I didn't think I was. I would never be like that to anyone else. I got so much joy from seeing the pulse of fear in his eyes. I have never told Jeff now. I don't know what he would do. I always look out the window in case the cops come to get me. I would never touch another person like that again. I got creepy shivers typing out every detail of the memory that's seared into my brain. But somehow it really changed me. Somehow after that I was able to let go of my pettiness and bullshit games I did in relationships. I'm a much better boyfriend to Jeff now that it changed my perspective. Somehow I learned patience and humility. I became much more big picture oriented, and the little things don't bother me like they used to. I do still hate Liam and all that he did, but I pity him for being the way he is. I feel like an evil monster. I guess part of me is. That's certainly what I was that night. Thanks for watching. Come back again.